Becky Lynch basically said that maybe the lights are too bright for Sol Ruca and she's not ready. And so they're turning it into a storyline. Sol Ruca's botch last week, Sol Ruca losing tonight. And I like that. What's up, everybody? Here to recap last night's WWE Raw, which continues to be a fairly basic wrestling show, which is not a bad thing per se, because I do my rankings of all the wrestling shows on my Monday Pro Wrestling Diagnosis videos that you could go check out. And Raw is usually towards the top of my rankings. It can be very mediocre with everything going on, but the Roman and Jacob stuff has become pretty great to me. Let's get into everything. The show did start with Roman Reigns and Adam Pearce talking about Jacob Fatu. Pearce threatening that he's going to fire Jacob because of everything he's been doing, but Reigns doesn't want that to happen because Jacob still needs to acknowledge Roman Reigns as the OTC. Reigns claimed he cleared Jacob to be hired by WWE, so he has to be the one to take Jacob out. This started our night. It built the storyline that Roman still wants to be acknowledged, even though he had to cheat to win at the pay-per-view. And they continue to keep everything in this storyline kind of gray, which I am also enjoying about it. But I gave this little opening a 1 on the fire scale. The Vision was out next to talk about how Breakker beat Rollins and hype up the tag team champions. Austin Theory talked shit about the Street Profits, went to the basic thing to say that the Street Profits need the tag team championships because Bianca Belair can't pay the bills anymore because she's pregnant. Theory called Joe Hendry a nerd, and the Street Profits interrupted to yap to the Vision. And then, of course, Joe Hendry came out to sing his Let's Fire Logan Paul song. I didn't really feel this segment. I'm not really feeling any of these feuds. I will not stop saying that the Vision just doesn't really do it for me overall as a group. So I gave it a 0. It was just kind of there for me. If I give something a 0, it doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's good. Just kind of means it happened and we're moving on. That led up to a 6-man tag match between the Street Profits and Joe Hendry versus the Vision, which was Logan Paul, Braun Breaker, Austin Theory. It was, one of your basic multiple-man tag matches. The ending was Rollins interfering, hitting a clothesline on Braun Breaker on the outside before he could hit a spear. That led to Dawkins rolling up Theory for the win. So I gave this a 1 on the fire scale because it makes the Street Profits threats to the tag team champions, which is what they're going for here. I wish I cared more. I want them to make me care more. That's why I give these ratings, by the way. I rate a lot of my ratings on if it's entertaining or if they made me invested. And that's what they're struggling to do with this feud and kind of other feuds on Raw right now. Next up was the original El Grande Americano with his buddies, the Creed brothers, and then Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan interrupted, and Pearce didn't have anything for Dirty Dom to do, but he ended up making a match between Dom and original El Grande Americano. It was played for laughs. I like the Americano stuff in AAA, but when it's on the main roster, it's played as too stupid for me. So I put this on the garbage scale, a -1. We then had a big old segment between Penta, Ethan Page, Rusev, Javon Evans, as we are still trying to see who Penta is going to defend his title against. And I'm glad it's Ethan Page, I guess, that they are building up. I've been saying that the past couple of weeks, but I don't really think this segment really worked. It was kind of a segment to remind us that these are the possible contenders for Penta's title, and that Ethan Page pinned Penta in a tag match last week, so that should make him the #1 contender. But then Rusev and Javon Evans interrupt, and Adam Pearce makes a match between those two. Yeah, once again, I gave it a 0 because it was a segment that happened, but it was just kind of there. The Javon Evans and Rusev match was fine. It was a fine little match that Rusev dominated, and I thought Javon Evans sold really well during this match, only to get the win in the end for Javon Evans. You know, a basic match, it was better than nothing. I mean, even I can do a basic match, even if it tells a basic story. I will at least give it a 1 on the fire scale, which is what I feel like this match did without being stupid or too boring. It got a little boring at times, but I'm still giving it a 1. Maybe I'm being nice. The next segment pissed me off. It was Iyo Sky in the back with Asuka. They're hugging again. Asuka said that she's been looking for someone to take over her position, and now Iyo Sky has become that person. And Asuka left with her bags. This maybe is some sort of goodbye for now to Asuka, and that's fine, I guess. But to me, I'm still upset that they wasted our time. They wasted our time with the Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Iyo Sky feud, and Cry Rhea River Ripley was in that feud too. But like then they just released Kairi Sane. Now Asuka's going away, and now Asuka and Iyo Sky are getting along again. That is wasting our time. And I only gave this a -2 on the garbage scale, but trust me, I wanted to give it more. Maybe I am just in a good enough mood to not do that today. So Brie Bella and Paige, the women's tag team champions, came out next because last week Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez called them out to come to Raw. So here they are. They're ready for a fight. They wonder what Judgment Day has to say, which made Rodriguez and Roxanne come out. Brie was talking about how Roxanne's mom is so disappointed in her. Then Raquel grabbed the microphone, putting down Paige, saying that she's had a million chances and always fails. They're just waiting for her to mess up again, and that her and Brie are has-beens. I like that they took it personal. They had to at least try and get people to care about this a little bit. And then the two teams got into a fight, which brought out the women's champion Liv Morgan to hit a double knee attack on Paige, and Perez hit a knee drop on Brie's head to put her down. And then they just took the boots to them, basically. The segment was at least better than nothing because they did get a little personal. My only complaint is that I feel like the tag team champions just go from show to show just to be attacked in numbers games because these heel factions have more numbers than them. So that's a little old already. But I gave it a 1 on the fire scale. They at least tried. And I thought Raquel Rodriguez was good making things personal. We then had some segments where Roman and Jimmy Uso talked about how Jey Uso was waiting for Jacob Fatu to tell him to leave, basically. Jimmy is trying to get Roman Reigns to move along and leave it alone, but Reigns said that they need to have order here and that Jacob needs to acknowledge him, and said that if Fatu doesn't acknowledge him, then Fatu's ass is out of here. Then later, Jimmy and Jay discussed how Roman is kind of a bit delusional right now. So they're still playing that Roman has these delusions about him. I'm intrigued to see where they go. I don't really know if the Usos are a strong part of this story yet. Like, I get that they are trying to make this a big callback to the original bloodline. I don't know if everything is clicking yet, but the Roman and Jacob stuff is clicking. I gave this segment a 2 on the fire scale. Sol Ruca versus Iyo Sky was next, which I thought was a fun match. I do feel like they booked themselves in a corner during this match because Iyo had to win, especially if, you know, Asuka's passing the torch to her, and that's what their whole long storyline was about. I was concerned that Sol Ruca lost this match, so I only gave it a 1 on the fire scale. But they did kind of fix that here in a segment in a second, which we'll get to. We had the Street Profits being interviewed next about how they're going to get a tag team title match at Saturday night's main event, which is also when Penta might be going against Ethan Page. So they are setting up all of these undercard title matches for that show, which I don't necessarily hate if they're going to get more time to make it interesting and have good matches at Saturday night's main event. But that remains to be seen. But then they ran into Seth Rollins, and the Profits and said that Rollins said that he wasn't going to be in their business, so he's not going to be in theirs. Ford said that Rollins is one of the greatest of their generation, but they can't trust him, and they don't need him to win the tag titles. So setting up the tension within this not so alliance between these wrestlers. Gave it a 1 on the fire scale, though. Then we got to Sol Ruca backstage after her loss. Iyo Sky approaching her, saying that they will meet again in the future. They shook hands. Then Becky Lynch walked up to Sol Ruca and laughed at Ruca for losing. And Becky Lynch basically said that maybe the lights are too bright for Sol Ruca and she's not ready. And so they're turning it into a storyline. Sol Ruca's botch last week. Sol Ruca losing tonight. And I like that. I think that is a logical way to go, that maybe Sol Ruca is not ready, and either Becky Lynch is going to prove that, or she's eventually going to get the upset on Becky Lynch, but it's a step in the right direction for a storyline for Sol Ruca. I think it's a good idea. I gave it a 2 on the fire scale. We had Oba Femi's open challenge. With anyone that has been watching my reviews the past few weeks would know that I've been putting this down because it's so basic, but they at least did it in a more creative way this week where nobody wanted to answer the open challenge. So Adam Pearce was calling it off. Oba Femi wasn't having it. He went to the back to find his own opponents, and it was both Angel and Berto who he beat up in a handicap match, which puts Oba over strong, and it was a little more creative because it was going to get old fast. So this was a better way to do that. So I can't put this on a negative. I gave it a 1 on the fire scale. I still think they could be doing a whole lot more with Oba and actually give him a real storyline. But if they could still make these open challenges creative, I will be more positive about them. Dominic Mysterio was backstage with JD McDonough when Finn Balor attacked McDonough and sent him into equipment and told Dominic that he's going to have to do this match alone to defend his AAA Mega Championship. They're not doing a whole lot with Finn Balor after he beat Dom, so I would like to see them do more there with him. But that led to the match with Dom and original El Grande Americano, which was fine. It had interference, though, that wasn't the Judgment Day. That played into the whole Americano feud. So Dom was still able to get a cheap win, which is the way to keep going with Dom. I gave that match a 1 on the fire scale. Logan Paul and Austin Theory were interviewed in the back, and Logan Paul was complaining about Joe Hendry's song and said he made a version himself. And then Austin Theory tried to calm him down. They didn't really want to talk here. And the interesting thing about this segment is that we saw that Maxxine Dupri was in their car also. Does that mean she's joining the Vision? I mean, I've already said I don't enjoy the Vision, but I do like Maxxine Dupri. So I was intrigued enough by this little segment with her, with them, that I do want to see how it plays out. So I gave it a 1 on the fire scale. And that brought us to our main event segment, which was the Roman Reigns acknowledgement ceremony, where Roman wanted Jacob Fatu to acknowledge him after he beat him, even though Roman had to do some cheating to win that match, so why would he? So we got to see Jacob Fatu arriving and Jey Uso trying to tell him not to do anything, only for when they get close to the ring, Jacob Fatu headbutts Jey, takes him out. Jimmy approaches him down towards the stage, which has Jacob attack Jimmy and take him out, and then Fatu and Roman have this big old brawl in the match, which before the brawl, Jacob said that Roman is going to have to beat the acknowledgement out of him. So during their brawl, Roman did get a chair and start beating him with the chair. But eventually, Fatu was able to turn things around and get the Tongan death grip on Reigns, do a suicide dive onto him. Fatu wanted to put Roman through the table, but Roman did hit a Superman punch. But again, when Reigns charged at Fatu, he was put in the Tongan death grip again. And eventually, Jacob was able to put Roman through the table. And then Fatu Also put the Tongan death grip on him again, which finally brought officials out at Adam Pearce. Jacob Fatu shoving Pearce away so that he could put the Tongan death grip on Roman again. Fatu held the heavyweight title in the ring, told the camera he's all gas and no brakes, which he has been proving lately. It looked like he was walking away, but just to put the cherry on top of this segment that I already thought was good, he runs back to the Usos tending to Roman and runs right through them, sending all four of them crashing through the barricade. And Jacob Fatu walks away, going over very strong in this segment. And they have him looking like a wild animal where either Adam Pearce is going to have to do something about it, or Roman and the Usos are going to have to find a way to put him down. But I thought this segment took it to another level, which this feud needed if it was going to continue. I gave it a 4 on the fire scale. I really do feel like, even though there's struggles for me with the Usos in this storyline, the Jacob and Roman stuff is working very well. Raw as a whole gets a 1 from me per usual on my scale, which is, it's a strong 1. And I'm very particular. I'm a harsh critic with everything that I review on this channel. So this is a good 1 from me, even though a lot of things are very mediocre on Raw. They're watchable though. And there's potential for a lot of things. I hope they keep the creativity up for the Oba Femi stuff. I do want to see what they're doing with Maxxine Dupri and the Vision. I'm very much tired of the Breaker and Seth Rollins feud already, actually. And the Street Profits and the Tag Team Champion stuff really hasn't connected with me yet. But it's a work in progress. I like the step they took in Sol Ruca, that maybe she's just not ready to be on the main roster, and that's kind of going to be the catalyst for her feud with Becky. But the main thing that is keeping Raw high in my rankings is the Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu stuff. It is working very well.